With this week's video, I'm taking a, well, pretty good looking plushie here, and I'm going to be tearing it apart to create something new here in the Dragon Kingdom. Dragons, I have an idea that I want to play with. That sounded so wrong. But I've had this idea for a very long time. Take a plushie and turn it into something else. Like, for example, let's do something like this. Oh my god, what happened to my sweet girl? So let's do something like that, shall we? I've already kind of started on this project a long time ago. I did an old intro. So we're just going to skip to finishing this doll, shall we? Here she is, finally on screen before she'd gotten destroyed. She looked adorable, but she also looks sad. Probably know what's going to happen to her in a moment. Before we get to the trimming, I'm going to cut off this tag that these toys brand always come with. Her name is Sapphire. Don't know if I'm going to keep that name by the time this is done or what. I don't know. But let's get to the trimming. Let's get rid of this tag. Don't need it anymore. Now I need to remove her eyelids or eyebrows. What are these things called anyways? Don't have time for that. I like how this part is sticking upward.
Kill me!
I'll try to trim that off later. Let's just get rid of her butterfly wings for now. Wouldn't be needing those anymore. I'll be giving her real dragon wings later. But I'll be saving these wings for another project. I'm going to be cutting off her ears. Well, I did. But you can't see it. Still haven't gotten this down yet. I did went back to her left eye and try to trim off that piece that was sticking upward, but I just ended up stopping halfway through because I just couldn't really get it and it was frustrating me, and I'm just gonna move on now. So here she is, without her ears, wings, and eyelids, or eyebrows. Anyways, I'll be moving on to her horns. I could have worked on her ears first, but nah, I decided to work on her horns first. And this first attempt was my failed attempt. I drew out the horns on the fabric that I'm using, and then I proceeded to cut it out. And then I used the horns that I cut out first as a template for the next horn. And I did this for all my endeavors for this ridiculous idea I had. However, after cutting this one out, I soon realized that it's too small for this project. Also the fact that one of the horns is smaller than the other one, so I had to restart over for this one. Repeating the step that I did with my first attempt, however, one of my steps is different. I don't cut on the line. I actually cut a few inches away from the drawn line that I made on the fabric, and it worked out in the end. Now that I have my fabric cut out, it's time to put these guys together. Instead of, sewing these guys together, I decided to grab up my fabric hot glue to glue these guys together. It's not sewing because I don't know how to sew. I can learn how to sew, but I actually hate sewing. So, I'm really trying to avoid sewing as much as possible. So when I have something easy to do, like, for example, hot gluing my fabric together, I'm going to do that, because I'm lazy like that. This was a learning curve for me, because not only do I have to, hot glue the fabric together, without burning or gluing my fingers together, I also needed to add filling inside these horns and all the other detail that I'm going to be adding onto her. So this was a challenge, but I managed to get a good rhythm by the end of this process. I flipped this horn inside out, and before I had to fill this horn up with pillow filling, I needed to draw out the other horn for the other side of the head, of which I just repeated all the steps that I did with the first horn. And once I finally finished filling this horn up with, filling plus gluing it together, I went ahead and glued the horns on top of the dragon head. Look 10 times better with horns. Am I right? Right?
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
I feel like dragons look better with horns than without horns. I don't know, that's just with me. Also with spikes too. Dragons need a lot of spikes. I don't know why. Now it's time for me to work on this guy's ear. But before you say anything, before you guys say that I forgot the other horn while I'm working on the ear, you'll be absolutely right. I did forget the other horn for a while. I think I threw away the other horn because I thought it wouldn't work, but it did, and I was able to save it. Anyways, we're not on that horn, we're not on the ears. I did the same thing that I did with the horns, but instead of making a horn, I made an ear. But we're not going to be seeing a whole lot of the ear process because I did a lot of this project off camera because one, this project was so large that recording everything was just a hassle, and two, it was kind of hard for me to record a lot of stuff because of how big this project is. So you're just gonna see me gluing her left ear on. It took a bit to glue the ear on because I literally had to stab a hole in her head just to get the wire to stick inside her head. And when I thought I had the wire glued in, I accidentally glued in the hole, so I had to re-punch in the hole, and I had to glue in the ear, and it was just a whole mess. But once I was able to get past that nightmare of a struggle, I move on to the detail that I added onto her face. I even added some new eyebrows. She looked more angrier than ever. She doesn't look sad like she did before. She looked angry. What happened to you, my dear? I even added some details onto her horns. I wish I added more spikes to her horn because, like I said, dragons need a lot more spikes than ever, but I didn't. I want more spikes. What's done is done. We can't go back and change the past, but I can change the future. So let's go ahead and move on. So now I'm grabbing out a big wire, stabbed them onto her side, and went ahead and put together her wings. Well, her wings were the biggest thing out of this project, and I thought this dragon plush was big. No, the freaking wings were big. I had to make them big. Why do I do this to myself? And because of how big the wings are, I had to literally grab 2 fabric and glue them together. I should have just grabbed out a bigger fabric for this project, but I didn't. Maybe next time I will do that. Definitely I'm going to grab something more stretchier than what I have. It took a while for me to kind of get the wings together. I had to literally grab scraps of fabric just to glue around the wire in order for the fabric to stick onto the wire. I only recorded one set of wings. I did the other one off camera because the wings were a struggle. But it was chunky. I'm not doing it ever again. I'm going to do something different if I ever decide to make big wings for my big creatures like this. I glued on the scrap of fabric to the wire itself, but 1 to cover it up and 2 to give the wing something to grab a hold of. It's chunky and it doesn't look all that good. I hate it. It was something. This took me forever because I kept putting myself with the glue. For the first time, I tried my best not to burn myself, but it happened. But another reason why it took me forever was because of how big the wings were. Let's just move on from this pain of a process I had to do with the wings. I'm never doing this again, like I mentioned before. And here she is, almost done. She had both her wings, horn, and ears, and most of the details on her face. Now I just need to add more spikes done to her cheekbone, and add a few more details on her horns off camera. Let's face it, guys, it took a lot out of me. So I just did what I could with this project. I'm just showing you guys a brief section of creating the spikes for her. I just did everything off camera. Let's just skip to the part where all the details are done. Here she is without paint. Part of me wish I kept it like this. I really like the different colors she had on her. Almost like a party dragon to me. But, no, I decided to make this process even more hard for me. Now, originally what inspired this whole video and this whole bad idea that I had, I found these fabric spray paints at Michael's one day, and I'm like, I'm gonna make a whole video based around these guys. So I took her outside and used these spray paint onto her, and the spray paint was the whole reason why I started this video. You freaking stupid. Where was I? Okay, I guess the spray paint was a complete waste of time. So I'm started painting on this glitter fabric paint that I accidentally bought at one point. I was trying to use this paint up. I think I should have just dressed her up, which probably would have made this whole process a lot quicker. Probably would have saved me a lot of headache in the future. But don't worry, she's gonna stay this glittery in the future. I paint over that. I'm not going to waste you guys' time with this, so I'll jump to when I start really getting into the painting process. Also, she's a different color. Why? She's no longer glittery. God, this is the better than glitter mode. So I'm grabbing out the color that I want to use for the base color. This took forever. Brother, you thought painting squishy took a long time? This is a whole different level of pain I went through. This took so many months of painting this plushie. I would rather paint a squishy than a plushie. This part was making me regret starting this project, but Once I start something, I have a hard time ending the project. So let's move on to the point where I'm painting her stomach and feet now. With purple this time instead of blue. I also use the same purple to paint the wings, but I only show like one part of the wing because, let's face it, this whole project was a headache. It may sound like I'm complaining with this project, which I am complaining about this project, and it may sound like I hate this project, which I do hate this project, but that didn't mean I didn't have fun working on this project, right? I quickly painted over the ears with the same color that I used the body, and the inside of the ears I used the same color that I used with the stomach and wings. And as for the detail, I started painting them with this green color, but I stopped halfway through because I needed something else to cause more pain to myself. I decided to grab out my puffy paint to fill in some area that needed to be filled in because it didn't look right. I should have done this process in the first place. Whatever, it's not like this project is already long enough. I did that for a while before finishing it off camera, and then I went back to the green part on the detail area because I just wanted to get this project done. This part did not take me as long as the other part of the dragon because this only took me about 3 days to do, which was the first for this project. Also really like how everything turned out. Now, after 4 months of having this tape on her eyes, it's time to remove it, which wasn't satisfying. I was really hoping it was, but it wasn't. But when I took them off, the tape didn't really protect the eyes all that well because some of the paint ended up on the eyes anyways. It either wasn't put on properly or... no, probably wasn't put on properly. So I decided to paint over the eyes with white gesso and then added some yellow to her eyes off camera, which made her look derpy. And with that, she's finally done. Love how she turned out, just don't have a name for her yet. She took a long time to work on because of, well, so many elements, and I hated painting her over and over again. But other than that, I had a lot of fun customizing her. And with that, take a look at the final result, and I'll catch you guys next week. Bye, dragons!